Hello there. I'm Linda Kay Gifford. I am the survivor of 7 years of childhood sexual abuse, and I am now a life coach. And it's my great privilege to own feelgoodfairtrade.com. We just hit our 4th year online as an ethical retailer of certified fair trade gifts and goods. Now I'm focusing even more on, instead of just women artisans, women who are being pulled out of poverty or given a choice to leave sex work in impoverished communities in the world, rescue groups. We really are focusing on these things. So do check out feelgoodfortrade.com. But today, we're going to pick up where we left off in managing sexual assault CPTSD triggers. Last week, we talked extensively about, and by we, I mean I, and also with my coaching students, friends. I don't like students, although there's a lot of teaching going on. I've learned a lot, and I'm here to share it with you. So we talked a lot last week about expectations, and I want to just kind of encapsulate the concept that I don't want you to have expectations. I want you to have standards. So here's why that's important. When you spell out a rule book to somebody, you say, this is what I expect of you on the most basic levels of decency and kindness and such. These are things they should already know. I'm going to switch around the way I started that by when you blah, blah, but let's scratch the presentation and say, these are things they should know already, or they're not worth your time. So don't get hung up with somebody who is most likely a narcissistic type of personality. And that's what we do. We attract them. We are attracted to people who want to dazzle us and possess us and who really seem to need us. So we talked a lot about that last week. And I encourage you to go back and watch those because I'm about to start getting into it again. And I just want to move on today. Today, I want to talk more about your relationship with yourself. Because I started out about talking about what to avoid in relationships and the kind of bad ones to get out of. And you really do need to know that. But more importantly, and it goes along with my belief that we all should learn to be satisfied mentally and physically by ourselves. I focused on the physical. We talked about orgasms and masturbation and why I think it's important and why it is important that we are taught that it is not only okay, but a good thing, preferable if you know how to self-pleasure, so that when you do get into a relationship with somebody, you know what you want. If you are somebody who is saving your virginity, and I have big problems with that terminology, but I understand the concept of wanting something to be special. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying I don't like the term saving, but we'll throw that out. You don't have to go into, I guess, anti-biblical land. If that's a problem for you, it's not for me. I don't think it should be for anybody really. But you don't have to go there to still stop. To start encouraging young men and women who are, at the puberty age, who are going to engage in some kind of a physical relationship down the road. Wouldn't you rather they kind of knew what they were after than they had to make it all up, figure it all out? And that's supposed to be beautiful. And so I'm going to say, yay, Jeff Bezos. Thank you for not naming your rocket ship after some virginal fantasy that there's something special and wonderful about being a virgin, because go back 2 weeks if that's something you want to talk about, because that is very, very, very destructive concept. The concept of your virginity being special. That being said, I want to double down. So we're going to double down every show now. It just keeps happening. I want to elaborate on what I just said a little bit, and then we're going to move on to some lessons in trigger management that involve body memory and disassociation. I'm going to explain to you why they're flip sides of the same thing. But first, I want to go back to a double down moment, and that is that only in selfishness can you be selfless. Only, and like many things, they're flip sides of the same coin, like what we're going to talk about today, body memory and disassociation. Flip sides, well, this is also a flip side thing. You need to choose and learn, and we need to, as a society, and especially as survivors of childhood trauma that literally changed our brains to where we don't have as many connections between the part of our brains that instantly processes, not so much processes, but experiences what's going on and sending it, into the amygdala to be locked down in chronological order and sequence and make sense. We just get lost in these thoughts that are floating around. So the more traumatic the experience was, and the younger you were at the time that it happened, the greater skill developed in you to disassociate, to separate from that, to save yourself. And that was a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it can be applied in positive and negative ways in your adult life. And unfortunately, I think for most of us survivors of either sexual assault or abuse or even emotional abuse or neglect, and I also encounter it with people with survivor guilt, people who don't understand why they are here when other people died in a certain situation, be it war or family or whatever, or COVID that's coming up lately. I don't have a deep sense like that of worrying about whys, because I don't believe there's a conscious being making up the rules. I think throwing your life into the hands of fate is really just a cop-out. That's just a cop-out. This is your life. Join the community. You are a sexual abuse survivor. So am I. Now we have Sweet Survivors, and we're doing a hard launch. I've been introducing it. I've been working on it. I keep saying this is going to come out and that and the merchandise, but like everything takes longer than I think it will. So now we've set a hard launch date for September 4th, and we're launching out of the Healing Arts Festival downtown in Springfield, Illinois. So the subscription is now available at sweetsurvivor.com, which is also feelgoodfairtrade.com for now. Soon, I'm going to move it to its own storefront under my Earth 2.0 fundraising family of shops. And I do want to put a plug in here that I'm looking for a manager, owner, operators, I call you. I want social savvy, media savvy, computer savvy, well Wi-Fi equipped, dedicated individuals with a passion and an obsession for change in whatever progressive capacity they have it in, to take over some URLs I have already purchased and need to open under my Earth 2.0 fundraising family of shops umbrella. And so it's a really exciting opportunity, because I'm literally going to cut you in, have it built for you, but then you should know a lot, and I will also teach you a lot. But I'm looking for non-typical resumes, meaning I don't want you to sit down and try to make it look like everybody on the market. I want to know who you are. You don't even have to send me a resume at first. Just send me a hello, and we'll go from there. If you are interested in, here are the ones that I need people to become vested players, meaning I'm not going to pay you. You're going to get a percentage. So you will work. It's like when I used to be in sales. A manager owner I revered told me, you want to raise? Sell something. Well, that's how this is, except it's your future. You can take one of these URLs and make it into a store, take a significant percentage. I'm still going to be a major player owner in it, but I'm going to get you guys way boosted right up there because I need to grow the Earth 2.0 fundraising family of shops. And if you have a domain outside of the ones I have, awesome. That's the idea, is to grow this into a platform of charitable shops. So here's what I have for grabs. Write it down. Owner operators, lovemygender.com. Stand with Greta. Okay, obviously Love My Gender for the Human Rights Campaign. Bring other worthy causes to the front, and we'll make decisions together as co-owners on who we support. Because these things also need supported at the local level and local politician levels. So another one is rubysbridge.com, which I want to support. We do support the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And each of the .coms I'm telling you now have been collections on my store in the past. And now I want them to each be their own store. And I've got it all set up to do it. I just need help because there's only so many hours in the day. And I prefer to really focus on Sweet Survivor now. So also up for grabs, Bees Feed Us. We have in the past supported the Honeybee Conservancy. And I prefer to work with fair trade and domestic products. We will talk about all that. If any of these things excite you, the thought of having that business for yourself, said I own these URLs and I'm looking for help. So please message me. You can do it through here or Facebook. On Facebook, look up Earth 2.0 Fundraising Family of Shops. And again, I'm Linda Kay Gifford. And we're going to get back now into trigger management for sexual assault survivors who suffer. I don't like the term suffer, though, who have CPTSD. You know what that means? It means you're human and you have a memory. You have a memory. And it's traumatic because when these kind of huge, your whole being was taken over by somebody else. You had no choice. You had to learn to take the abuse. You had to learn to disassociate. You had to learn to function like a normal person in the world, too, if you were lucky enough to do so. And it was hard for you. It was hard for me. So I know it was hard for you. And you need to give yourself a break. That's where I'm going with this. Because you're kicking your own ass whether you know it or not. Across the board, even the people I talk to who are like, oh, I know the guilt is not mine. I know the shame is not mine. They come into it saying all the right things. But as we get talking, it's just almost, 99% of the people, when I start to talk to them, it's evident that they still feel they bear shame and guilt. But the thing is, it's on such a deep level that they can't consciously pin it. That's why their conscious, literary, I've studied this, I know it's not my fault, mind can't separate, nor can mine, from the body memory. I'm sure I will always encounter body memory moments that they're breathtaking and not in a good way. They are life-sucking, breathtaking. It is like having, like if someone were to put another video and start to play it on top of my video. So here's a video. It's a ghost video. Mine's the real one, then there's a ghost video. That is the experience that we have been in the past. And because our minds have kept this trauma bouncing around out of the chronological ordered part of the memory, because we have never processed it, essentially. If you do any video editing, you have to wait for it to process. Well, it just doesn't do so in those of us who have CPTSD, but it can. And that's what I'm here to tell you. And that's what I'm here to teach you, is that there's a way to make that process. And we're going to do that. Okay. My trigger guide's coming out soon. I'm going to give it away free to anybody who becomes a monthly subscriber for the price of a cup of coffee, as everybody says, but it's the God's truth. Can you give $5 a month to Sweet Survivor, please? I'm going to get real pushy about that because I can't rescue people without money. And if everybody interested in this, if you're a woman, if you have a daughter or a sister, for that matter, if you have a mother, and I think that's pretty inclusive, you should be supporting Sweet Survivor. And so we hard launch on September 4th, but for right now, please go to sweetsurvivor.com and help us out. But for God's sake, and if you're a support personnel, this is something that you've got to work with constantly. Body memory. The shame is not yours. Separate the guilt. So you've got in mind a literary split. Okay, let's say that we've talked enough that, and we will, if you want one-on-one, please talk to me one-on-one, because we can do so much one-on-one that I can only touch on here. And I'm just seeing the difference. I'm seeing changed lives. And so now I'm really excited to talk to you more one-on-one. But for everybody, let's say we've moved to the point of, okay, in a book learning sense, I know that I am not the guilty one and all of that. Probably you do already. So what do you do about that body memory when it washes over you, when it takes over your world? Well, the first thing you do is the most basic of exercises. You'll find it in every book. You'll read The Courage to Heal. My therapist, and I see a therapist for an hour a week. I like to always throw that in there. Even therapists have therapists. Yes. And I rely on the input, and I run by her and her years and years, decades of experience with people like me and a lot of us. And then while the fact remains, she does a whole lot more listening than speaking. Like any good therapist, she guides me on my own journey. And that someone told me I was the blind leading the blind. It's like, absolutely. Who better to lead the blind than the blind? To a point. Okay. I'm not stupid. So here's what I want you to do. Here's an exercise, and it's a painful exercise. This one's going to hurt. You might need a Kleenex. Please don't have a meltdown. If you start to, remember to stay out of the rabbit hole. But this is an important exercise for people who experience shame when it shouldn't, when you shouldn't. You know that there are times that you feel ashamed when you shouldn't, when it doesn't make any sense. For me, it's with foreplay. I'm over it with my current partner for the first time in my life, but I was always like, just fuck me, pardon my language, but just get down and do it. And I like that, but I was still considered it a drive for the finish thing. And I thought I was empowered. I thought I was bold and empowered because I could do that after years and years and years of being completely scared of sexual experiences, not wanting them at all, just getting completely fucked up and disassociating when I had them. I'm cursing a lot this time. I'm going to get in trouble for that. But, yep, Facebook police, YouTube police will be on. Oh, I can make a wish. I wish all of you will start a Sweet Survivor subscription. Okay. So here's the exercise. Imagine that everything, bring to mind, get it out of you. Get it out of you. Stop trying not to think about it. Remember what happened to you. Remember the worst of it. Remember being sexually violated. Remember being touched in a way that disgusted you. Remember being scared and confused and not knowing what to do. Remember freezing. Remember rocking in a closet or waking up in a field and not knowing how you got there because you're so fucking good at disassociating now. Remember all of the things that you have to deal with and have dealt with. It's hard. I'm there too. Now imagine somebody you love. Imagine your sister or your daughter. If you don't have a child, imagine a child that you care about, male or female. Imagine that child in every situation you were subjected to. Imagine that child just long enough that you feel like I do right now. Now step away from the rabbit hole. Don't go in. But do you see now how it could never be your fault? And how the shame is not yours. So now we're going to step away from the rabbit hole, and that's another part of this. That's the trigger management and PTSD. Right now, I could cry for hours. I could reach for a bottle of vodka, and I could drink it until I feel numb, and then I could act like I'm over it, and I could dance on my patio. I do that a lot, actually. Not generally drunk on vodka, but, I'm stepping away from the rabbit hole. I'm not going to fall in, but I'm going to remember now. I'm going to take this feeling, and I'm not going to stuff it back in me, and you don't either. Take it right now and create a file. Make a pretend, but it's not pretend. It's real. It's a real mental file. Your mind is your office. This is where all your shit lives. This is where your stuff is. These are your memories. These are your thoughts. This is how you organize. You write it on paper. You put it on your computer or on your phone. This is it. This is your office. The real one where it all starts. So now you take this and you don't swallow it down and don't put it in your heart and don't put it in your gut. Put it in your mental office. This happened to me. I know that it is separate from who I am as a being. And I also know that I still have flashbacks of memory. I still access this file too much. And now what we're going to start doing is we're going to start removing access to that file. You're going to be able to only access that file when you want to, instead of that file just like being a notification that keeps popping up. I unsubscribed. No. Did you really unsubscribe? Because I'm back. You know what I'm talking about. Let's bring trigger management into the modern age in technical terms that we can understand. So I know, like, for me, I felt instant anger and the first thing I felt like I wanted to throw up when I walked you through the exercise of imagining somebody you care about in the kind of perverted situations you were put into or someone you love was put into. And then we focused on getting, because I was going in. So I switched the focus to pulling out. And pulling out and filing it away and setting it. And now I've got control over it because now it's in my mental office. But that revulsion and that anger, that is your body memory. And you are going to keep experiencing these things, I believe, until and unless you redirect it. You have to redirect it. That's why I do this now. That's why I coach other people. I've said to you before, and I'm going to say it again, we're going to go back to the top of this and what we talked about last week. I am the most important thing to me. I am selfishly telling everything I know to you because it is my way of taking this constant battle I have with the guilt and the shame. Because I'd like to tell you it just ends and you'll be fine, but that is not the goddamn truth. The truth is you will deal. But you can deal successfully, you can deal well, you can have a great life, a great love life, a great sex. I have arrived at all of these things. And it took a lot of thought and a lot of work and a blackout that left me reeling and writing a book and 2 years of writing, research, and therapy to be where I am now. And I'm so glad that you're here with me on the journey. Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to say. Basically, just you deserve to feel okay. You deserve to be unafraid. You deserve to be in a bonded relationship or loved, like sincerely. But to get there, you've got to be okay. Oh, God, I hate to say this because it's such an adage, but it's still true. You got to be okay alone. You have to not want something too much because you know what? If you go looking for something, you will find something. You go looking for love, you will find some resemblance of love. But if you learn to love yourself, then you will manifest a relationship with your world that is so happy that it doesn't matter if anyone else is in it. And somebody like you won't be blocked by all the clutter you have going, trying to have relationships with people that it's too hard, where you're wondering, what did I do wrong? How am I doing the right thing? What do they think? Get over it. Be selfish. Because if you are selfish as hell, straight up selfish, it's all about you, then you can make it about somebody else too. Then when they come along, if they do, it'll be honest. And if they don't, who cares? You're great at masturbation. You have a wonderful life. It's all good. So, I have to do the double down. I said I'm going to do double down. I'm going to have a sip of my blackberry non-alcoholic seltzer. I'm always accused of being drunk. It's like I'm usually sipping on my first, if not only, evening drink at these times. This is just how I am. You don't want to see me drunk, because when I get drunk, I get talkative. This is the normal version of me. All right, but seriously, the only person that needs to love you is you. Anything else is a bonus. It's icing on the cake. It's not a necessity, but it will come if you love you. It will, because it's not a matter of not being there. People are like, oh, you're so lucky if you get it. And I found a great relationship recently. We don't like the word love because we've used it loosely in the past and tightly, and so we have another word for it that's none of your damn business. You make up your own. But like I said, if you are searching for something, you'll find something, and then you'll be spending your time trying to sort it out. Give up the search. And this is just like what we talked about last week. Hand in hand with expectations. Give up expectations. Have standards. There are certain things I will and will not accept. Then I'm not going to tell you what they are, because if you don't meet my criteria, I don't want you anyway. Some people think that's it, being bitchy. It's like, no, because if you weren't handed off, and this is where we're going into our double down, and then I'll get out of here. The double down is the part where I was chastised because I don't have respect for some other cultures, even cultures whose women, at least in their YouTube channel interviews, act like, oh, we're good with this. So I talked about the Maasai on Sunday. I'm going to bring the Maasai up. The Maasai tribe is somebody I buy from. I buy beaded bracelets, necklaces. They're really known for what's called the wedding necklace. They'll have like a big medallion. It'll be like a mandala almost of beads, and very colorful, very bright. But the deal is, the woman who was saying that she felt sorry for us because we don't have sister wives. I see Western and Northern European women saying, oh, well, that's so beautiful that, to appreciate it from her sense, her cultural sense. It's like, no, they didn't listen closely. So I want to reiterate, I brought this up on Sunday, and it's important. It's important because basically this is like the title of today. I was like, don't get traded for a cow. Okay, well, it's figurative as well as literal. But here's the literal basis for my figurative analysis. And I kid you not. So they're interviewing the woman who she's like, well, here's the reason why. When asked why she likes having sister wives. Well, because she was married at 14 to a man she didn't know. So she, having lived in one village her whole life, she cried and cried and cried, and was given to this man, who essentially raped her, and she had kids for him. Then he brought home a second wife, and she was grateful because he took her away. They live in a hut, or not a hut. I'm sure they're nice if you're used to it sort of way. A Burma, is it? Might have got that wrong, but I think that's what it's called. And they'll have like several of them. And then, so she was grateful when he brought home another wife, she said, because now she wasn't so lonely. So, okay, he takes her. essentially kidnaps her, rapes her, not kidnaps, is given her. He's given her, traded actually, with her father, traded for cows. And they don't count their cows because that's unlucky. But treating your daughter is okay, and and she's okay with it. That's where I'm going. That's at the end of this. That's the end. But let's get through the middle. So, bullet point. She's 14. Daddy gives her to somebody she doesn't know. She cries and cries and cries. She's all isolated and getting raped by a man she doesn't know who is now her husband. So along comes wife number 2. She's just grateful, probably not have to get fucked all the time. And also because now wife number 2 is somebody to hang out with and talk to. And they help each other with the kids. So maybe they get a break now and then, right? And neither one has any jealousy because that's not a thing in a culture where you're given to a guy you don't like in the first place. Right? So they develop. Yeah, she's like, oh, we're happy in our lifestyle. It's like, well, every human being tries to be happy in their lifestyle. So along comes wife number 3, and both wife number 1 and 2 are super happy to have wife number 3. And she continues to say why having more sister wives is good, because she's like, then we will make more daughters, and daughters are valuable. We can trade them to bring prosperity to our family community, Burma, or whatever it's called. Do you see what's wrong here? So then when I see in comments, oh, that's so sweet and beautiful, it's like, no, it's not. It's not. She's given away. She has no choice. She's isolated. She's just grateful to get somebody to hang out with. She doesn't care who it is because she's all alone. And who cares if you sleep with my husband? I don't like him anywhere. Or even if she likes him, she doesn't know anything else. She never had a choice. And now she doesn't even see herself to have worth because she expounds upon the virtues of making daughters to trade. So she can care nothing about herself on a gut level. I'm obviously worked up, so I'm doubling down. No, I have no respect for cultures. If the start of whatever you're tolerating, and yeah, they'll get their women on there and they're like, oh, and just like conservative women and evangelical women, they're the ones supporting the patriarchy because they know that if they support the patriarchy, they'll get more cookie crumbs. They're going to get more cookie crumbs. You're never going to get a cookie, lady, but you're going to get more crumbs if you support the patriarchy. And you're fucking us all over, and you need to stop it. So there's that. And we will talk more about that tomorrow. But I will not trade my daughter or my son for a cow, not literally, not figuratively, ever. And I will have enough self-worth to know that I will not glorify someone using me as a commodity and pass that down to my children. So this kind of ignorance is not bliss. This kind of ignorance is not bliss. I will talk to you tomorrow. I'm shooting for 4. I really am, but it might be 5. We'll see. I will announce ahead of time. Talk to you then. Sign up on the appointment calendar if you want to talk one-on-one. First session's free. After that, I'm cheap. I really want to talk to you and keep a roof over my head. So, bye. Oh, Linda Kay Gifford. Signing out. SweetSurvivor.com, FeelGoodFairTrade.com, my business and my rescue. Flip that. Talk to you tomorrow. I'm trying to end it. There we go.